sixth graders, Mrs. Trendell here from SCAZA to do your next SCAZA lesson. And before we get started, I'd like to just do a little review of our last lesson. So the last lesson we talked about the harmful effects of nicotine and tobacco. And I just want you to think, with all of the effects, the harmful effects that the substance can have on your body, how could nicotine and tobacco use keep people from reaching their goals? Okay, so just think for the next couple minutes. Okay, so today for our lesson 7 for 6th grade, we're going to be talking about a drug that affects vision, memory, reasoning, concentration, and other abilities and skills. So today we're going to talk about a drug that's called marijuana. Marijuana comes from the plant called Cannabis sativa. Cannabis sativa, or marijuana, contains over 400 chemicals. One of these chemicals is responsible for most of the effects that we were going to talk about today. This chemical is called tetrahydrocannabinol, or THC for short. THC is a mind-altering substance, and it is harmful to the developing brain and body. THC interferes with concentration, memory, thinking, and perception. The legal status of marijuana is the subject of an ongoing debate. It is a federal offense to purchase, grow, carry, or use marijuana because of the harm it can cause. In some states, marijuana use and limited possession is permitted under the guidance of a licensed medical professional or a doctor, and when dispensed from an approved and regulated dispensary. So it's a place that with a card that is given to you by a medical professional or a doctor. It's a place that, almost like a pharmacy, that will dispense or give you the approved amount that your doctor approves of. So today we will discuss recreational use of marijuana, not medical marijuana. So what is recreational use? Well, recreational use is the use of the purpose of getting high. Medical marijuana is prescribed by the doctor. While possession and use of marijuana are federal offenses, some states allow recreational use of marijuana, but just like alcohol, it is not legal for people under the age of 21 to use. The national debate about marijuana can make it difficult to separate the myths from the facts about this drug. We are going to do an activity in the next slide to settle the myths about marijuana and confirm the facts about the effects of THC. Okay, so I'm going to read through these next 12 statements, and as I read them, I want you to think, is this a myth? Is it not true? Or is it a reality? Is it a true statement? I'll give you a few seconds, and then I will give you the answer and the reason why. Okay, so the first one says, marijuana is safe because it is natural. So is this a myth or a fact? So this is a myth. Marijuana is a natural substance derived from the plant, like we talked about, the Cannabis sativa. However, just because something is natural, it is not necessarily safe. Poison ivy, great white sharks, poisonous snakes, and tornadoes are natural, but they are not safe. Okay, number 2, marijuana is addictive. This is a fact or reality. Addiction can be physical or psychological. So chronic or everyday use of marijuana, the marijuana users become physically addicted, experiencing unpleasant withdrawal symptoms when trying to quit. Occasional use of marijuana, or users often are psychologically addicted. So emotionally and mentally, they feel like they need to be high. Okay, Okay, so that is a fact. Number 3, spice or synthetic marijuana is a safe alternative to real marijuana. So this is a myth. Spice is a mix of shredded plant materials and synthetic chemicals that produces mind-altering effects. Sellers of this drug try to lead people to believe it is natural and therefore harmless, but it is neither. In fact, the effects of its use can be unpredictable and in some cases severe or cause death. Number 4, marijuana use slows the heart rate, which relaxes the body. Okay, this is a myth. The effects of THC might make it seem like things are happening in slow motion, but in reality, the drug increases the heart rate up to 50%, resulting in low blood supply to the heart and causing chest pains. Number 5, marijuana smoke weakens the immune system. This is a fact. Marijuana smokers have more sick days and more doctor visits for respiratory or breathing problems and other illnesses than people who don't smoke marijuana. Number 6, marijuana use motivates users to achieve more in life. So does marijuana motivate people to do more and achieve more in their life? This is not true. This is a myth. Marijuana users develop a lack of motivation. THC reduces the user's interest in activities, school, work, personal hygiene, and life in general. Some marijuana users perform poorly in school, work, or extracurricular activities because of this lack of motivation. Okay, number 7, marijuana use disrupts brain development. Okay, if you said fact, you are right. THC changes the way the brain works. Remember, a drug changes the way a person's the brain functioning. So, marijuana is a drug. So when marijuana users begin using as teenagers, the drug may reduce the cognitive or the thinking, the functioning part in your brain, affecting learning and memory and limiting connections within the brain necessary for these functions. The effects of these abilities may be long-term and even permanent. Number 8, marijuana use impairs driving abilities. This is a fact. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration reports that even a moderate dose of marijuana was shown to impair driving performance. THC affects alertness, concentration, depth perception, coordination, and reaction time. All of these are very essential for safe driving. So when THC alters that, it can be very dangerous. Number 9, a person can be arrested and charged with driving under the influence, or a DUI, when driving high on marijuana. This is a fact. THC impairs driving performance, like we said in the last card. So remember, the reaction time, your depth perception, concentration, and coordination are all altered negatively. So police arrest and charge individuals who drive under the influence of mind-altering substances like marijuana. So it's not just alcohol. Number 10, the effects of marijuana use only last for an hour or 2. This is a myth. THC attaches to the fatty parts of the body, including the brain and reproductive organs. THC can stay in the body, especially the brain and the reproductive organs, for up to 30 days after use. Okay, number 11, the Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, has recognized and approved the marijuana plant for use as medicine. What do you think here? Okay, so this is a myth. The FDA has not recognized or approved the marijuana plant for use as medicine. Currently, the Drug Enforcement Administration, or the DEA, classifies marijuana as a Schedule I controlled substance, meaning that there are no FDA-approved indications for medical marijuana. However, scientists have discovered that CBD and low levels of THC have some health benefits. And the last one day, recreational marijuana use will be legal for everyone regardless of age. Okay, if you said myth, you are correct. Like alcohol, the THC in marijuana impairs the brain. Because of the negative effects of THC on the development of the teenage brain, recreational use of marijuana will not be made legal for someone under the age of 21. All right, good job with those. So let's look at the effects of marijuana use on the brain. THC, the mind-altering substance in marijuana, is responsible for many of the effects that you see on the brain. So let's see how THC affects the brain. So the two scans here view the underside of the brain and brain activity, just like the scans we looked at in the alcohol lesson. So the one on the left is showing a picture of an active, healthy brain, while the one on the right is showing the inactivity, or the brain that is not as active because of marijuana use. The presence of the THC in the brain reduces or stops brain activities. The holes that you see here in the scans are not actual holes in the brain. They represent damaged brain cells or cells that have no activity. Inflicting this kind of damage while the brain is still developing can delay or stop the development of healthy brain cells. Okay, so consider the consequences. So as I read through some of these consequences of marijuana use, these are from the effects of THC. So remember the lack of motivation, short-term memory loss, slowed reaction time, poor decision making, poor depth perception, loss of balance and coordination, and poor judgment. These are some of the consequences that could happen because of these effects. So as I read them, think, are these positive consequences or negative? Okay, so suspended from school or repeated tardiness, kicked off the basketball team for missing practice, letting the team down, being benched, broken windows, scratched cars and lost job, forgetting to babysit, getting grounded and missing a party, getting cut from the school play, not being able to remember your lines, loss of friends, arguing with parents, no one trusting you, and poor hygiene. Okay, so as you can see, most of you probably would agree that these are all very negative consequences of marijuana use. Now I want you to consider, think of middle school all throughout the whole United States. What percentage of middle school students do you think might use marijuana? So I'm not talking about just your school or your county, but across the United States, when you think of middle schoolers in every state, what percentage do you think? So it's only about 10%. All right, so that means that 90% of middle schoolers do not use marijuana. Media portrayals of marijuana use, whether it's in the news or in film or movies, cause people to overestimate marijuana use. So in fact, most middle school students are smart, right? They don't fall for the line that, hey, everybody does it. So if anyone ever tries to convince you that everybody does it, remember that most middle school students do not. Okay, so I want you to remember that marijuana use can have many negative consequences. So remember to stop and think about how marijuana could be a roadblock on your journey to reaching your goals, to becoming the happy, healthy, confident person you want to be. Right, so then our next lesson will be our last lesson for our Too Good for Drugs program. And our last lesson, we're going to be talking about the safe use of prescription and over-the-counter medicines, and also reviewing street drugs and the effects on your body. If you have any questions today about marijuana use, the effects of THC and marijuana use, you can always email me at skazaprevention@gmail.com, or if you have any comments you would like to add. And if not, I will see you in the next lesson.